Hi, I'm Steve Costello. I'm here with my friend and business partner, psychologist Leo Faerberg, who's sitting over there on the Emerald Isle, uh, also known as Ireland, for anybody who's not sure. Is it raining over there, Leo? Because people joke that it rains every day.
Frequently, especially in this time of year, but I haven't seen the summer yet. I am not sure whether it's
Yeah,
much different.
sure. One of our friends joked that Ireland's going to get a roof. So they're going to put a roof on Ireland so the rain can't get through. You can control it. And I think that's quite a cool idea. But Ireland isn't that small, though. Anyway, what we're doing here today. So it's been suggested that by psychologists, I hasten to add, that rigid 5 year plans, that where do you see yourself in 5 years? Well, I see myself earning six figures in 5 years from now. And that's what I'm going to do. That's quite rigid in a way. So it's been suggested that 5 year plans are not always necessary, that even that they're not very effective, and even that they're demotivating, and they can be quite damaging to our personal growth, our personal development. So what do you think, Leo? Where do you come in on this?
Well, it's a very popular question in popular coaching and in corporate world when people seek for a job, for example. A regular question from an HR would be, what do you see? How do you see yourself in 5 years? Because they want to see someone passionate and motivated and someone able to set goals. But on the other hand, there are many like uh, undercurrents about that because the first thing is the world is getting more and more unpredictable. Uh, Things are changing every day on all scales, on all levels, uh, starting from big politics and general condition of the world, AI development, putting so many processes completely onto a different scale, onto a different paradigm. So it's very hard to have set and firm and orienting goals in 5 years, and it's a very peculiar process, very thorough process to see what plans are possible with every person, like individually,
Hmm.
because and also when you set a big goal and like you see all these motivating uh, phrases all over internet, like set a goal and keep it in mind, don't uh, take your eyes off the goal. But that's what I tell to my clients is completely opposite. Yes, set a goal, but keep your eyes right here where you are now. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I agree absolutely. That's a brilliant way of putting it, Leo. Um, I was thinking about, well, several things that we went through before we started recording today. I was talking about human development being which is what you've just been saying. It's not linear. It doesn't work in straight lines. Wouldn't it be boring if it did? It really would. I almost said cool, but I didn't mean that. I mean, it would be boring.
It
Carl
is.
Rogers, yeah, Carl Rogers, psychologist from way back, interestingly, was the kind of the main subject of my psychology studies when I started training in counseling and therapy. He wasn't the only one, but he was kind of the favored one at the university where I studied, which was quite interesting, but still, that's by the by. But he talked about the importance of being open to experience and adapting to the challenges that we come across in life. And he was absolutely right. And he said if we stick into these kind of predefined goals, that can be damaging, it can be demotivating, it can be stressful, it can be a load of things that we don't really want to suffer. So we need to think about all those things. And there's research about the value of flexibility There's a ton of research about that. Say how important being flexible actually is. It helps us with problem solving and with decision making. And if we're stuck out there in the future, focused on this kind of lofty goal, that's 5 years away, 10 years away, I mean, even, that we're going to suffer. It means that we're not going to have adaptive strategies in place for when things change and go wrong. When somebody moves the goalpost, that happens quite a lot. Suddenly, everything changes, not because we changed it, somebody else did it. So we need to be able to respond to things, and we can only respond to stuff in the present moment. We can't do it with our heads stuck 5 years away. Similarly, we're not here to talk about it today, but we can't do it if our head's stuck in the past either. So we need to think about those things. We've got to admit that our ability to predict the future is thoroughly limited. It absolutely is. We don't have to, okay, people say I've got a crystal ball, I can see the future. I'm a bit skeptical. I don't think so.
Even
What
those
about
who
you
use
though?
crystals, yeah, sorry. Even those who use crystal balls, I know some people who do predictions of tarot card and stuff. They say life is not linear. There's always, a fork in the road. Maybe massive changes going along, and you're not the only maker of your own fate. Other people's make their fate too, and sometimes you and their fates cross. And so even with some predictive abilities, the best of the best have like 75% uh, rate of fulfilling the
Yeah,
prophecies, those who do the forecasts.
absolutely. So
Sorry.
what do you think about, there's a lot of research around about goal setting. There's probably a lot of authors written about it. I can't think of loads of them. I can think of one psychologist who did, a guy called Edwin Locke. And he suggested that yes, goals are really important for motivation. But yet, having said that, we've got to be able to allow those goals to evolve. Because sometimes, if we set a 5 year goal, for example, it can actually become irrelevant. Why? Because our values change, our interests change, or as I mentioned a few minutes ago, external circumstances change. So where are you on this one now?
Uh, Actually, there is a process in coaching about setting goals, uh, and especially as I mentioned, and you said that the world is more and more unpredictable. We could much easier talk about setting goals like 20 years ago, 30 years ago. It seemed to be quite the world seemed to be more or less stable, and even at those times, and we're in business for so long, even in those times, we were talking about setting a big goal, setting some definite goal, but then split it into smaller goals, smaller steps, closer and closer towards the present moment, because it's easy to get uh, demotivated because if you think a big goal far away from you, you don't see any result. You don't see any success when you try to do smaller steps. If you don't recognize, if you don't plan the steps, if you don't recognize the steps, if you don't celebrate your little everyday achievements. And another thing that is very important and very little spoken about in the world of business and coaching is that people set those big goals. They like push themselves towards it. They don't sleep and eat thinking like because this is the ideology which is everywhere. But at the same time, what people completely forget is that they are themselves their own instruments, their own tools of achieving the goals, and they completely don't take care of themselves. But you can achieve the goal, anything, what you want, whether it's a creative project, whether it's a business uh, project. You have to be, you have to feel safe, you have to feel good, you have to be flexible with your, even with your day, because one day you're full of energy, you feel well, and you do things. Next day you're kind of down, something happened that upset you, you're just tired, you got a little bug, so that you feel unwell. And while you're thinking about that big, oh, I'm laying here like sick and or sad and cannot kick my sorry to say, but towards my big goal, you're not helping it. You're just destroying yourself as a tool. You're not tending yourself. Because this is my favorite topic, is that any goals, the world is yours, but take care of yourself. Know yourself. Know your strengths and weaknesses. Like I am a completely disorganized person, and so and my life changes. Like I never thought I'd be in Ireland a year ago. Well, a year ago I kind of was expecting, but it didn't happen that soon that I wanted it to be. So your want is not enough to bring you to your possible goals,
Oops.
and we don't have to bear in mind that we got also a lot of wrong ideology and agendas. Like you have to be strong, you have to be tough, like survival of the fittest, but it's wrong. It's not the fittest who survives, it's the most adaptable who survives. And you have to keep an eye on trends, you have to keep an eye on your personal state, you have to keep an eye on circumstances, and then you rearrange stuff. You have to be open to things, and that's very important, that you feel safe about that, that it's not just a bad stress. Okay, it's a stress, but try to make it a good stress. Okay, there's a challenge. What can I do? So,
Yeah.
what's your experience around that, Steve?
Well, one of the things you talked about wins a little while ago, which it still amazes me when I talk to my clients in the very early stages of our relationship. We get onto things like wins and your superpowers and a whole lot of other stuff. And that's regardless of where they are and what kind of support they need. We kind of build a picture. And so few people celebrate when they have a win. They just don't. They just take it for granted and move on.
It's not enough.
It's not enough.
The
It's not good
goal is
enough.
bigger. It's much
Yeah,
bigger, and it's too far.
yeah, that's right. So there's an idea in behavioral psychology that short feedback loops are highly motivating and they work really well. And I agree. I think that's absolutely true. So we've got a goal that by this Friday, I will X, Y, Z. And by Friday, I will either have achieved the goal or something will have happened to make me change course slightly or tweak something. But still, I will get to Friday and there will be some result. So I'll celebrate that. I'll punch the air, I'll jump up and down, do whatever I want to do. I always do something personally, so you celebrate that win. And then you work next Friday, maybe the same goal, more or less, but it's changed a little bit. So you work toward that. And by next Friday, you've got more to celebrate because you keep working toward that small goal and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So it pulls you along. It's a positive thing. It's almost like being pulled along on a sledge on the snow by a team of horses or whatever. Quite cool. And you get more horses as you move along. So that's quite something worth celebrating. But one of the things that we tend not to relate to goal setting or 5-year plans, whatever you want to call it, is this thing about well-being. So where on earth does well-being come into setting goals? Well, it actually does in quite a big way. One of the things that is important is that well-being is very strongly tied to resilience. And I guess a few minutes ago there, that's what you were talking. One of the things you were talking about was resilience. So it's tied to resilience and it's tied to adaptability as well. So if we have resilience and if we have adaptability, if we can adapt as things change, that helps us to thrive. Helps us to thrive, even if the environment around us is a little bit dodgy, it's uncertain, it's kind of shifting. Like you stood on, I sometimes feel like I'm stood in an earthquake. We don't get really hurt. I don't think we've ever had an earthquake while I've been living here. But it kind of feels like the ground's shaking sometimes. And you've got to learn how to adapt. How do I get off this shaky ground? How do I move to a more stable surface? So with resilience, we can learn how to do that. Leo and I can help with this stuff, by the way. I've not mentioned it yet. Normally I mention it every few minutes. If you've got a challenge, if you've got a question, send us a direct message. Leave a comment if you like, but some people prefer not to leave comments because some things they want to talk about are quite personal. And that's okay. So send a direct message. You will definitely get a response. If you find this video somewhere like my YouTube channel, so Leo's not appearing on there, that's no problem. Send me the message if you want to talk to Leo, and I won't take offense, I promise. As I said, we're friends and colleagues. So I will direct you to Leo if that's necessary, okay? So get in touch, send us a message. So think about well-being. If we can adapt to uncertain and changing environments, that helps our well-being. And sometimes, if you think about having a 5-year plan, if it's rigid, that may stifle our well-being. It may actually push us back a little bit, and we don't want that. Because the better we feel about ourselves, the better we can respond. Now, today, we've not touched on the need for therapy, the challenges that some people go through, the traumas that some people suffer from. We've not touched any of that stuff. But if any of it, sorry,
people people do dismiss it, and in coaching world as well, because coaching about setting goal and getting to this goal. But again, as I said, you are the tool, and you may have your personal load, life load, and if you find it difficult to achieve your goal because for some reasons your emotional well-being is challenged, your health is challenged, you feel as if you are like spoiled goods, that everyone else is great in achieving goals, everyone else is there already, everyone else is whatever, and I am like a bad sort. I don't fit. I'm not good enough. And actually, this is very important, and that Steve and I have experience in therapy, because people like to like the divorce. Therapy is therapy, counseling is counseling, coaching is coaching, but that's not true. We are talking about a human and humans' goals and humans' needs, and how we can merge it all together and take into consideration all the factors and care about things that are in need of care, so that you make up a suitable goal, a realistic goal, based on your state, your abilities, everything. That makes it so like customized when you work with an experienced counselor, experienced in many aspects of human well-being, even the darkest and deepest moments. So that's the difference. It's not just pushing you towards your goal or writing this plan. And actually, what I can say about any goal or any plan, it's like, yes, you have to make, and I mentioned that you have to have a goal, but think of it as a destination. But happiness it's not something in your hand or in your yard or it's not material. It's the state. Your resilience is the state. Your Happiness is state, your well-being is your state in the moment, and you are far more it's far more possible for you to reach the goal and even bigger goals, maybe a bit different ones, because when you adapt, they may change. Uh, but and be happy because you just you move. You know where generally you're moving towards bigger like things, maybe more money, but happiness it's what is now.
Yeah,
And that's very important, not just talk about and not just know about, because it's a sensation, it's a state of your well-being. That's it.
yeah,
And you have more capacity to move, and you have more energy, you have more motivation when you are in this moment, motivated and taken care of. And that makes you a suitable tool for achieving the goals you set.
yeah, absolutely. So, and just to add another couple of things, flexibility. It's, I don't know whether I've used the word so far this morning, but it's certainly been around what we've been talking about. We need to be flexible. We need to have a flexible vision of where it is we want to get to. If we have a rigid vision, it's going to hurt. It's going to go wrong at some point. Something's going to change that we're going to have no power over, no control over. So we need to be flexible. We need to have adaptable milestones. You know, I talked about that Friday example, goal by Friday. If I don't achieve that goal by Friday, it's okay. I did something, I did achieve something, but I might need a little tweak to take me to the next Friday and keep moving forward. So let's be adaptable. That's something that we work on. That's something that we can work on. So we're not going to give it all away here and now. We don't have time. I want to give you an example as well. And this is a real example from a young woman. Well, she's young. She's 40 years old. She lives in Syria in a refugee camp. And I've been spending quite a lot of time with her in the last 3 or 4 weeks talking about what she can do about her situation. She's very intelligent. She's got a lot of qualifications. I think she's got 2 academic degrees. So she's not lacking in the academic stuff. She's absolutely not lacking motivation. She is the most incredibly motivated person I've met in a very, very long while. And the way she's been doing it is one day at a time. She knows that she's in a difficult place. She knows that life could be better. She knows that she wants life to be better. But she's not saying to herself, I'll get out of this refugee camp in 1 year's time. She's saying, I'm going to work every day to get out of it. What can I do? How can I take myself to another place? You know, which is so awe-inspiring that it's unbelievable. I would like to get her on a video, but unfortunately she only has a mobile phone connection, and that connection is very, well, really quite weak. You know, so it drops in and drops out. So I don't know whether that's going to be a possibility, but maybe I'll get her to record something and send it across. We could try it that way. We'll see what happens. So think about it. 5-year plans, they work. They're tricky. They can be demotivating.
They do if you do it right.
If you do it right. Yeah.
And if you
Okay.
don't make it alone, you have to have somebody with you. All plans, when you have two minds, plans get adapted much easier and much more promptly at the moment if you
Yeah.
have somebody to discuss it with.
Yes. And just to finish, here's a question for everybody out there. How many people, now be honest, how many people have started a program? So they've, for example, they joined a course. Let's say I can think of a personal development course that's not my own, but one that I'm aware of. It's quite a long program. The number of people who've joined that program and fallen off before they've got to the end is quite phenomenal, because they tried to go it alone. It's motivating in the beginning. Every now and again, you see a really motivating video within the program, but then it falls off again. And it's great to have a hand to hold. And that's what we can do. That's what you do. Okay. That's it from me. Take care, everybody. And Leo?
Yeah. See you in the next video and ask questions. Don't be afraid. It's cheap.
Yeah,
It's free.
absolutely. It's cheap. It's free. Okay. Take care, everybody. Bye for now.